Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mina. In this video you're going to learn how to make this milkmaid dress. If this is what you're interested in, please stick around and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started, guys. I've already done a video of the drafting of this milkmaid bustier pattern. If you haven't watched my video on how to draft, I'll leave a link in the description so you go watch that so you can understand what we are doing here. So I've gone ahead to lay the pattern paper on my fabric to cut with half of an inch allowance. You can see I added half-inch allowance round. We use one of these cups to achieve this particular one here. So you really need to watch that video so you understand this part. I went ahead to cut lining for it as well. So I'll be using the lining to turn it. On this center front, I'm going to sew it by half of an inch. I'm done stitching it together. I'll go ahead and flip it over to the right side. The next thing is to sew the upper part and also the down part, and when you are sewing, please don't stop stitch, because if you top stitch you'll not be able to pull it together, like you'll not be able to gather it. So here is it, guys. I'm done sewing the upper part and the down part. You can see I did not cut out the thread completely, so what I'm going to do now is to use the upper part of the thread that I left. I'll go ahead and pull it in to get a gathered effect, just like what I'm doing right now. So just go ahead and do the same thing. What we are trying to do is for us to achieve a gathered effect. You have to take it gently, because if you should apply your muscle, the thread is going to cut and that will make it to start all over again. So take it gently and slowly. The next step is to measure what I have on this cup. This is the upper part. I'll go ahead and measure what I have. I have 7.5. I'll check if the gathered effect I have is up to 7.5. If it's more than 7.5, you can try to pull it in again. If it's less than 7.5, you try to adjust it as well. So it has to be the same measurement with the cup. Mine wasn't up to 7.5, so I needed to adjust it so I can get 7.5. Okay, so we have 7.5 here. Then the next thing is to go ahead and work on the down part. The same thing we did to the upper part is what we are going to do to the down part. We are going to hold one of the threads and pull it gently, also to get a gathered effect. So when I'm done with this, I'll go ahead and do the same thing to the second one. So here is how it looks after I was done gathering both sides together. I've gone ahead to cut a strap we are going to use to cover the upper part. I cut two of it. The length of this is 21 inches, you can see. Then I use 1.5 inch for the width. The next step is to attach the right side of the strap to the wrong side of this cup as shown. Just attach it like so. Go ahead and pin it together. Go ahead and pin it round as shown. When you are done holding it with your pin, go ahead and sew it. After that, the next step is to bring the strap to the front as shown. So fold it like 2 times. You have to fold the first one as shown, then go ahead and fold it again the second time just to cover that front part. Then go ahead and use your pin to secure it round. So this is a strap you'll be using to tie the front. What you're going to do is for you to fold it in from the left and from the right as shown, then you fold it again as shown. Go ahead and sew it. So here is how it looks after I was done sewing it. The next step is to attach it back to these other pieces, you can see. So I'm going to attach one first. This side that has this doubly effect, I'm going to attach one from that part. That's the center front. So I'll pin it down with my pin. That's what I'm going to do across. Use your pin to secure it round. On this upper part, I'm going to leave like 1/2 inch, which I'll be using to join the sleeve. Okay, so go ahead and do the same thing. When you are done securing it with your pin, go ahead and stitch it round as shown. The next step is to attach the second one. I'll go ahead and place it on the first one as shown with 1/2 inch difference. If I should separate it as shown, it's going to expose my boobs. So I'll go ahead and place it like so, just little difference, like maybe like 1/2 inch. Just place it as shown. Then use your pin to secure it. Secure it the same way you did to the other one. Just secure it around. Then leave like ½ inch at the upper part so you can use it to attach your sleeve. I'm done securing it with my pin. The next step is to take it to the sewing machine to sew it round. Here is how it looks after I was done sewing it. So the next step is to use my lining to cover that part that is looking weird. I'll go ahead and place my lining as shown. You can see how I place it, guys. So go ahead and place it the same way and use your pin to secure it round. The next step is to take it to my sewing machine to sew it round. Here is how it looks after I was done joining it together. The next step is to also use the lining to cover the side. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'll open it up as shown. You can see how I open it. Then I'll place it just like the way I'm doing. Just like the way you see me doing. I'll place it like so. Okay, I'll use my pin to secure it round. Just pay attention to how I'm covering it, guys. Okay. Go ahead and do the same thing. I will equally do the same thing to this other side. So I'll go ahead and pin it round. And I'll take it to my sewing machine to sew it. So here is it, guys, after I was done sewing it. So I'll be flipping it over. Remember, I'm joining it with ½ inch. The ½ inch allowance that I added is what I'm using for the joining. So I'll go ahead and sew these down parts together. So this is the back half length. I'll be using the lining to turn the back part as well. So I'll go ahead and sew the side, that's the side, the upper parts, the other side, and the down part I'm not going to sew it because I'll be attaching my flare to it, so there is no point. Here is how it looks after I was done sewing it and flipping it to the right side. You can see I left the down part open. So we'll be cutting the down parts together. Hold one edge, like one edge of the fabric. You can see how it looks. Hold one edge, bring it to the side like so to achieve a funnel effect. It has to be like a funnel. You can see how I did it, right? So go ahead and fold the first one, and you're also going to fold it again the second time. Okay, you can see how I folded it. So I'll go ahead and use my pin to secure it. From this upper part that has this funnel effect, I'll go ahead and determine where I can mark my exact waist measurement. My waist circumference is 27. 27 divided by 4, I have 6.75. So I'm going to mark the 6.75 that I have. Okay, so I'll determine where I can mark exact 6.75. I don't even get. So also note, I folded this fabric 2 times. So if you're folding yours only once, you're going to divide your waist measurements by 2. Do you get? But if you're folding it 2 times, you're going to divide it by 4. I don't know if you understand my explanation. I've gone ahead to chalk where I have exact 6.75. So I'm also going to use my ruler to make it visible as shown. You can see what I did, right? So go ahead and do the same thing. So that line that I just chalked is going to serve as my waistline. I'll subtract 16 inches, which is my half length. You can see where I placed it to determine the full length of my dress. I want the length of my dress to be 50 inches. So I'll go ahead and add 1 inch to it for seam allowance. That's the 50 inches. I'll also add 1 inch to it for my seam allowance. Then I'll go ahead and chalk it round. When I'm done chalking it round, I'll cut it out. So I'm also going to cut the upper part as well. Okay. In order to determine the midpoint of this flare and also to cut the slits, because I want my slits to be at the right side. Okay, so I'll fold this into 2 as shown. Then I'll determine the midpoint of it. You can see, I'll determine the midpoint of it. I'll go ahead and notch the midpoint. Then from the midpoint, I'll measure like 3 inches from the midpoint. Then I'll use my stretch ruler to mark the 3 inch all the way down. You can see. So after marking it down, I'll go ahead and divide it into two. Note guys, I'm dividing it from the 3 inches that I just marked. So from the midpoint, I'm only notching it. Do you get? I notched the midpoint, but I divided it from the 3 inches that I just marked. Then I'll go ahead and join it together, but I'll stop at where I want my slit to start from. Do you get? I will also subtract the half length, which is 16 inches, and determine where I want my slit to stop. You can see mine is going to be around 30. My slit started from 30 inches. After sewing, I realized it was quite revealing, so I needed to add like extra 2 inches to it. So that's like 32 inches. Do you get? This was it guys. After I was done sewing it, I went ahead to iron it out. You can see how it looks. So the next step now is for me to go ahead and fold it. Okay, I'll go ahead and fold it as shown. Then I'll take it to my sewing machine to sew it round. So here is how it looks after I was done sewing it. I also went ahead to fold the down parts. So I've gone ahead to cut my sleeve. This is a length of 17 inches on fold. Then the width is 8 inches. Do you get? So I've gone ahead to cut like 2. The next thing is to place my back pattern paper on it as shown to trace the armhole. The next thing is to take it to my sewing machine to fold the down parts and also the upper part. I have to fold it in such a way my elastic band can pass through. Sure you understand? So here is it guys after I was done sewing it. The next step is to cut my elastic band. I measured my bicep circumference and I had 10 inches. So what I'm going to do is for me to subtract 2 inches from it. So I'm using 8 inches for my elastic band. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut like 4 of it. That's what I'll be using for my sleeve. So the next step is to pass my elastic band across. I'll use my safety pin and fix my elastic band. Then I'll pass it in as shown. After passing it, I'll go ahead and stitch the edges so it doesn't move. Then I'll do the same thing to the second one. Here is it after I was done stitching it together. So I'll go ahead and attach it to the armhole as shown. Remember you are attaching that part that you use remember we use the back pattern to trace where we are going to use as our armhole. Do you get? So that is the part you are going to attach to your armhole. So it has to be that part that you use your back that you traced out, okay, as your armhole. It has to be that part. I'll go ahead and do the same thing to this other side as well. After pinning it together, I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll sew it. So I'll be joining it with half inch that I left as my seam allowance. Here is it after I was done joining it together. The next thing is to shape it by taking my accurate body measurement. So from that part, you can see the 1 inch allowance that I left for my zipper. I've gone ahead to sew that part. I've gone ahead to sew the 1 inch. So from that line of 1 inch is where I'm going to place my tape to take my bust circumference. So my bust circumference is 8.5. I'll go ahead and mark it. Okay, so on the waistline, I'll go ahead and take my waist circumference, which is 6.75. I'll go ahead and mark it as well. Then I'll connect it together as shown. So I equally do the same thing to this other side. Then I'll take it to my sewing machine to join it together. I'm done joining it together. The next thing is to open up the zipper allowance that I closed so I can attach the down parts to it. The next step is to fold this half length into 2 so I can notch the midpoint. You can see I'll go ahead and notch the midpoint. You know, we've already notched the midpoint of these flare parts when we're cutting. So I'll go ahead and attach it to the upper part. You've seen, right? Go ahead and attach it and use your pin to pin it round as shown. So I'll take it to my sewing machine to sew. Here is it, guys. After I was done sewing, the next thing I'm going to do now is for me to go ahead and sew this down part and also to attach my zipper to it. Okay. Thank you so much for watching till this point. Here's the final look of the dress. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button and also like the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video. Bye.